Good morning. God bless you. I'm Elder Rodney G. Fleming, Speaker and Director of Growing Seed Ministries, which is temporarily on hold due to my illness. The illness came upon me right around January. I'm going to give you my testimony, give God the praise, because even through this, God was working behind the scenes. I didn't know it at the time, but day by day, I'm beginning to realize that God never left me, He never forsake me, and He did things in my favor that favored me without me even realizing it. Now, I have 3 doctors, and they all want me to get plenty of rest and relax and take my medication and everything. But I am going to give this testimony, and then I'm going to hop back in bed. Now, I wrote it down because it's kind of hard for me to remember things right now. They did do work around my brain. But I'm healing day by day. I recently had surgery to remove a pituitary tumor of the endocrine glands and nervous system. It is found inside the skull, just below the brain and above the nasal passages. It sits on nerves that connect to the eyes and to the brain. My trouble actually started about 2 years ago. The hazy, blurred vision in my left eye and random headaches. And I'm a type of person who rarely gets headaches, but 2 years ago, off and on, I was getting these headaches right around my temples. I took Tylenol like everybody else does, but it kept recurring. Now, I'm about to give some different places that I've been. I'm not going to name names, but I'm going to give credit where credit is due. In January 2020 Vision Center first noticed, and I heard her say, "That's something back there." And I'm like, well, they've been saying that I've got cataracts building around my eyes. She said, yes, you do, but there's something else that's there. I was kind of worried. She didn't know. And I, of course, didn't know what in the world she was talking about. So 2020 recommended I go to see North Carolina Retina Associates. I went to them, filled out the paperwork, took the test, and they flashed the light in my eye and numbed my eye and did all these things so they could see behind it. And they wanted me to go and refer me to Raleigh Neurology for an MRI. Now I'm thinking an MRI is for people who's got something that's wrong, bad. That's something that's really bad, that's wrong. And neurology, I knew they had to deal with my brain, so now I am really concerned. It was here that Raleigh reached out to my family doctor at Wintergreen Medical Center. So Raleigh contacted Wintergreen Medical Center. And my doctor is the one who actually told me what was going on. She said, Mr. Fleming. Now, I was on the job when she called me. And I took the call. I just happened to be in the mop closet where it was quiet. And I'm kind of glad it was, because I probably made an expression on my face when she told me this. She said, Mr. Fleming, you have a tumor. It's pushing against your optic nerves. And it's the size of a golf ball. I'm like, what? I couldn't say anything. Everything, the sound just kind of disappeared. It got real quiet in there. And I got kind of weak in the knees. I'm like, I got something like that in my head. She said, yes, sir, Mr. Fleming. So I went home and I told my wife and my family. I was constantly on the phone after that, trying to find time. You know, I'm trying to work and I'm trying to find time to go to my scheduled MRI. I had to go to a CT scan. Had to take multiple blood tests. I mean, they took test after test. One blood test required 12 readings to be done from that one blood test. And they was able to get 12 different readings to kind of match me up and get me ready. This went on for about 2 months. 2 months I was doing the calling and taking the blood tests and the MRIs and the CT scans. Finally, the surgery date was set. UNC Chapel Hill was chosen. However, I did not have a driver at the time. My wife didn't want to go up there. My daughter was working so hard, she didn't have time to go up there. But she didn't want to drive, my wife just said. Say hello, Laura. Say
hi, Facebook.
And my youngest son, Javante, he had went to Kansas a few years back and came back, and I guess he had bad experiences while driving. I know one time he did hit a deer. And he was out of the question. And so I was going to try to get one of my in-laws, my relatives, my cousins. In pops my son, Jarrell. Jarrell is the COO of Spring Grove Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. He's a very busy young man. He supervises hundreds of people and dozens of departments. He took 14 days out of his schedule to put everything on hold, put someone else in charge, came here to Winterville to be my driver. And that touched my heart. He really surprised me when he did that. So he took me around to different places, and finally it was set for me to go to University of North Carolina. We went down there, and he decided that it'd be best if we stayed in the hotel, and then all we had to do is go to the hospital because it's much closer, because my appointment was at 5:30 a.m. So finally got there. They let me off. I went inside. I said goodbye to Laura and Jarrell, and they went back. So I was there. They hurry up and check me in. They got the IV in my arm, and you know they never get the IV in the first time. So after multiple sticks, they finally got it in. They asked me questions. I fill out paperwork. They put me on the stretcher, and they wheel me back there, up the elevator, and it was time. And I was just praying. I said, Lord, I know you say you never leave me nor forsake me. I don't have anybody here. I don't know anybody here in Chapel Hill. I'm there by myself. So the anesthesiologist did his job. I had about 10 people actually working on me. There was an where you see it. Anesthesiologist. These are physicians who, among other things, administer anesthetics. They don't want to put me to sleep. I had an endocrinologist. I don't know if you can see that. Endocrinologist. I hope it's not upside down backwards. They treat disorders for the endocrine glands and hormones. They did some of the operating along with this one is 7 syllables. Otolaryngology. Otolaryngologist. These people treats and manages disorders of the ear, nose, and throat. They're also known as ENT, but this is their professional name. They also, now this is how God was working behind the scene. My tumor was located in the pituitary gland. For number one, over 90% of pituitary gland tumors are, what's that word? It's non-cancerous. What's the other word for it? It's not malignant, It's not malignant. It's, I can't think of it. I'm sorry. You know what I'm talking about. Benign. And that was a weight off my shoulders. That was a blessing. And because it was located back here on my brain, behind my optic nerves, the whole operation took place within my nose. They didn't have to open my scalp. They didn't have to cut a section out of my skull to get to the brain. They did a whole operation within my nose, and it blew my mind when I found out they could do stuff like that. They had a catheter put in me, oh yeah, but I was asleep, and thank God I was asleep. The only one other person I know that had a catheter put in them, and they were not asleep, and that was my dad. And my brother Canaan went with him to the hospital that night, and he almost turned the whole place upside down by them putting that thing in him. But anyway, that was in the past. So I had that in me. I had a tube up my nose. They had packing in my nose so they could operate. They had one piece of machinery going in my nose with the camera and the light. They had another machinery that acted as a type of suction to cut through the tumor and suck it out. And that took 5 hours. 5 hours. When I came to, I had a tube through my nose stuck to the side of my head. I had a catheter. I had an IV and big bruises on my arm, which, you know, it happens. I'm not blaming the person who did it, because everyone has rolling veins. I had packing up my nose. I had different things attached to my body, and the medicine was beginning to wear off. I had no family support, but God was there. God was there. Praise God, He was there. I had some of the best nurses and some of the best doctors. They were telling me different things to expect. They was telling me how well I was doing. I also got diarrhea while I was there, because it gave me too many of those red pills, those stool softeners. I had that for 2 weeks, y'all. Anyway, that's going off the subject. I was there for 5 days, and I was finally able to get my papers. They took out the IV was the very last thing they took out. They took the thing out of my nose. Before they did that, though, I'm sorry, they did take out the catheter. That was early in the morning. I'm like, oh, I got to be woke for this, because I don't want to wake up while you're doing it. And he talked to me through the whole process. And they took the packing out of my nose, and he pulled and he pulled. There was balloons stuck up there to keep my nasal passages open. It's amazing what they did and how they did it. So I'm here, and I'm alive, and I have a sound mind. I do have a sound mind. I always couldn't remember a lot of stuff anyway, but I do know how to write, and I do know how to read. I want to thank everyone for your prayers. The Smith family for their prayers. Thank you so much. The Arrington family for your prayers. Thank you so much. Thank you for the Soul Saving Station Church. They pray for me. My immediate family, Yvonne, Canaan, Ernest, Wanda, and Suzette. I want to thank, first of all, my wife. She stuck by me. And she, when I first got home, I was a mess. And I did cry. She comforted me because I had been through something I'd never been through before. I'd like to thank Joy Temple Holiness Church for their prayers, and Pastor Linwood Atkinson, Pastor Canaan Fleming. And I also like to thank the Spring Grove Hospital, where my son Jarrell is. He had them up there praying. Thank you so much, everyone, for your prayers. God bless you. And I'm going to get better. It's going to take a little time, because the doctor said it was brain surgery. But I pulled through it like my granddaughter, Samaya, she said, you pulled through it like a G. Whatever that means, I guess that's good. Thank you so much, everybody. 15 minutes over. You're supposed to be timing me. Okay. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you. And victory is mine. I'm going to get back in bed now, y'all. Thank you. Good night. Huh? Where? Finish?